Tricked you. I see. That was actually me holding a picture of us on a phone.
Wow.
Wasn't that was a trick of the eye, wasn't it, that one?
It was sensational.
Anyway, I'm Matt.
I'm Chris.
And we're here to talk about image style, which is why we started this whole thing with a still image of us.
Yeah, a very blurry still image, but yes.
Yeah. So, what is image style and why are we talking about it?
Well, it's part of your brand guidelines. You should have an image style, and it's any images that you put out into the world and how they should look, really.
Yeah, so there's all sorts of different approaches you can take with this. A good one is to think about what kind of images you want to use for your main marketing or your cultural marketing. And you may want a sort of separate set of guidelines with how you display your images, your product images, for instance. So do you want them in situ with people working with them, or do you want them against a beautiful white background, that kind of approach? So it's a set of rules to make sure that when people are following your branding guidelines, that they understand what sort of image style you should be using, when and where.
Well, that brings us neatly onto why you should care.
Yes.
And it really shows who you are as a company and a brand. So it gives a sense of your personality across to the consumer of it.
Yeah, and that in turn gives you a sense of credibility, because if you imagine I don't know, maybe a website, a piece of digital marketing there, and all of the images on it are really, really obviously stock photographs. Yeah. Some of them may have not even had the watermark removed, I've seen before. You really start losing credibility with your customer and your audience.
Yeah, and especially if you're doing, if you're a builder, say, and you've got a picture of a person answering the phone who's a blonde lady with one of those earpieces, that's not the person who's really answering the phone, is it?
Yeah, absolutely, and we see the same stock photos used everywhere. So something definitely to avoid. And finally, if you get your image style right, it can actually really help create and maintain your brand awareness. So if you have some real great bespoke imagery that is just tied to you, people will see it, recognize it, and associate it with your brand.
Yeah, so let's talk about how you do your image style and how it all works, really.
So first off, which is the same for most branding, it's about understanding your audience. So making sure that your image style properly connects with the people you're trying to communicate to. So if you're a very friendly, happy, family-orientated business, that's the kind of audience you want to connect to. You should reflect that in your images and not go too suited and booted and too bland with your images. So combining your whole branding and your image to talk to your audience is a key.
Yeah, so it really should, following on for that, should follow your core values. So yeah, if you're a legal person, it needs to show that you're very good at your job and you're going to win all your cases. Yeah,
by core values here, we kind of mean the sort of top level of your brand philosophy. So your why, how, and what messages, making sure that the image is in harmony with those the messages and the rest of your branding, really, to make sure it all glues together. And in turn with that, it's also worth thinking about and being aware of your color palette. So you don't want your images to clash horribly with all of the colors that you have on your visual communication.
Yeah, we're not saying that everything on a certain brand needs to be blue or anything, but if your brand is an outdoors brand, then you've got colors in your logo which are going to be earthy tones, so you need to follow that through with all the images on your site as well.
And actually, when you start looking at branding, it's often worth starting with your imagery before you get to your color palette, because in some ways it's a good way of defining that color palette, to get all of the images together and see what common tones you're using, so you can color pick from them and make sure you're not getting anything that clashes and it all sits nicely together.
Yeah, and then we've got to deal with where we're going to source our images from.
Yeah, so you've got a few options. There are, of course, lots of great stock libraries out there. Some of them are free, some of them you pay for. The really important thing is, if you're not getting photography done yourself and you're getting it from online sources, to be very careful and aware of the licensing and the attribution. The first rule is do not do a Google Images search and just grab images from that, because you don't know who holds the rights to those images. Much better to buy something from the licensed photography and stock things. We'll put some links at the bottom to point you to some of our favourites. And make sure that you're being very careful not to get into wobbly legal waters.
And if you are going down the stock route and you've got a company and you're buying 10 or 20 pictures, maybe it's worth getting a professional photographer in to really shoot who you are and the products in the right way. Maybe it is worth doing that. You could potentially do that all in a day.
Yeah, so there could be some savings to make by getting an actual photographer in. And actually, it tells a better story as well. So it depends on the size of your business, what your budget is and what your goals are to try and get these images sorted out. But if you take the other example really of someone who's just starting out, look, there's nothing wrong of taking some photographs, even on your mobile phone, to try and get some of your personality out there. Combine that with some stock photography that reflects who you are, and it's a great starting point if you really are sort of limited with budgets. So
yeah,
loads of options there, we hope.
Yeah, so get out there and yeah, sort out your image style.
It will make you happier and more successful.
Like us. Hey.
Great impression of the fonts there. Why not post your fonts impressions below somewhere on our social media account? Best fonts impression wins nothing.
Nothing.
Bye.
Bye.